What if the world has been lying to men about sex? Not openly, not in a way you could easily point a finger at, but in a slow, quiet, almost invisible drip that seeps into your habits, your emotions, and even the way you define yourself. What if the belief that sex is just physical hasn't just misled you, it's been shaping you, training you, conditioning you, nudging you into patterns of behavior you never consciously chose, until one day you wake up wondering why your confidence feels fragile, why your motivation feels inconsistent, or why your relationships never seem to fully click. Think about it for a second. What if every time you told yourself that intimacy is nothing more than a release, nothing more than a momentary escape, nothing more than a biological reflex, you were actually training your brain to disconnect, to numb out, to silence the parts of you that want connection, purpose, and emotional grounding? And what if all of this happens so slowly, so subtly, that you don't even recognize the damage until the day you finally pause, and everything inside you begins to shift? Because here's the truth nobody ever told you. The biggest transformation a man can experience doesn't always come from lifting heavier weights, making more money, climbing higher in your career, or listening to someone shout motivational quotes at you. Those things help, of course, but they don't transform you at the core. They don't rewrite the way you feel about yourself when you're alone. They don't heal the parts of you that crave meaning but settle for noise. Real transformation happens when you reclaim the way you think about intimacy, when you stop treating it as something casual or mechanical, and start recognizing it as one of the deepest forms of personal power you possess. And before we go any further, take a moment, hit like, drop a comment, share this message with another man, subscribe, because we're about to enter a part of masculinity that almost no one talks about, yet every man feels burning quietly beneath his ribs. This is the conversation men have been needing for years but never knew how to start. The truth is that most men today move through life half awake. Not because they're weak, not because they're lazy, not because they don't care. They move half awake because their energy is scattered in 1,000 directions. Their attention is constantly pulled away from their inner world. Their emotional resilience becomes thin, brittle, easily overwhelmed. And the heartbreaking part is that nobody ever explained why this happens. Nobody ever connected the dots for them. No one told men that when society teaches you to treat your sexuality as something cheap, disposable, or mechanical, you slowly begin to treat yourself the same way. When you numb your instincts for connection, you numb your instincts for purpose. When you disconnect from your emotional body, you disconnect from your spiritual spine. When you reduce intimacy to a quick escape, you teach your brain that you are not worthy of depth. And that's where the real damage begins. You start walking through life like a man who is missing something but doesn't know what it is. You become restless without understanding why. You become irritated easily, unmotivated easily, exhausted easily. And because you don't know the real cause, you blame everything else: your job, your age, your partner, your circumstances, never realizing that one of the main things draining your vitality is the way you've been taught to think about intimacy. But something incredible happens when a man finally stops and reevaluates all of this. When he realizes that intimacy isn't just physical, it's emotional fuel, psychological grounding, and biological nourishment. The moment he shifts his mindset, everything begins to realign. His energy strengthens, his emotions stabilize, his confidence grows roots instead of floating on the surface. Suddenly he feels alive in a way he hasn't felt in years. Because the truth is simple, the way you treat your sexual energy is the way you treat your life. But something extraordinary happens when a man stops thinking of sex as a reflex or a casual pastime, and starts recognizing it as a form of emotional, mental, and even spiritual power. At first it feels small, almost invisible. You wake up one morning and realize your mind isn't racing the way it usually does. You're calmer, more centered. You feel present in a way you haven't felt in years. You're not chasing stimulation. You're not hunting for the next dopamine hit. You're not restless or agitated the way you used to be. It's a quiet kind of peace that grows inside you. Then your awareness sharpens. You start noticing your habits, what drains you, what feeds you, what distracts you, what strengthens you. You become more patient, more deliberate. You stop reacting out of impulse and start responding with intention. And without even trying, you become more grounded, more masculine in the truest sense, not loud or aggressive, but steady, contained, clear. Women sense this instantly, not because you're saying anything special, but because your presence shifts. A man who respects his own energy radiates a different kind of confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation, doesn't need approval, doesn't need constant stimulation. His attraction doesn't come from trying, but from being. Men who treat sex as meaningless often lose this presence without realizing it. They numb themselves. They dull their instincts. They disconnect from the deeper parts of their own psychology. They treat intimacy like entertainment and then wonder why they feel empty afterward. But when you stop doing that, when you treat your sexual energy as something worth protecting, you start rebuilding yourself from the inside out. Your creativity wakes up. Your ambition strengthens. Your sensitivity to people deepens. Your emotional intelligence expands. You become a better listener, a better partner, a better friend, a better human being, not because you're trying harder, but because you're finally operating from a place of coherence instead of fragmentation. Suddenly, you notice things you used to ignore, subtle emotions, quiet instincts, the way someone looks at you when they're hurt or excited or vulnerable. You start connecting with people in a way that feels real, not forced, not shallow, not transactional, but human. This shift transforms your relationships too in ways most men never experience. When sex is just physical, you stay on the surface. You never fully connect, never fully trust, never fully open yourself to another person. But when sex is seen as something meaningful, your relationships deepen naturally. You communicate differently, you touch differently, you love differently. And the incredible part, everything becomes more intense. Your emotions, your pleasure, your sense of bonding, your sense of purpose. You begin to understand why ancient cultures saw sexual energy as sacred, because it shapes who you are, it shapes your strength, your self-respect, your direction in life. When you waste it, you feel weaker. When you protect it, you feel powerful. Over time, this power becomes something unmistakable. You stop craving validation. You stop falling into empty habits. You stop sacrificing your well-being for temporary pleasure. You start focusing on long-term fulfillment instead of short-term escape. You start building rather than draining. Your self-worth improves. Your discipline becomes natural. Your confidence becomes effortless. You feel less like a man surviving his life and more like a man shaping it. And here's the part that most men don't realize until they experience it themselves. When you stop treating sex as just physical, you stop feeling alone. You stop feeling disconnected. You stop feeling like your emotions exist in separate boxes. Everything in your life starts connecting: your mind, your body, your relationships, your purpose. You begin to feel whole. This isn't about shame or guilt or pretending to be perfect. It's about awakening. It's about recognizing that your sexuality is not a toy, not a distraction, not a button you press when you're bored, but a source of strength that can elevate every part of your existence. If you've stayed with this message until now, your mind is open in a way most people never allow theirs to be. So show some support, like the video, share it with someone who needs this, subscribe, and let your voice be heard in the comments. Because when a man begins to respect the deeper meaning of intimacy, he transforms not just his habits, but his identity. And once that transformation begins, life stops feeling accidental. It starts feeling intentional. And intentional living is where a man finally becomes who he was meant to be.